Okay, in this video we're going to go over 5.4, which is medians and altitudes inside triangles. Okay, so starting with the vocab, a median, whoops, let me backtrack a little bit. Okay, so the median of a triangle is the segment from a vertex to the midpoint. So this is midpoint of the opposite side. Okay, so here's a vertex right here on top, and if you connect from the vertex right down here in a straight line, that is a median. Okay, so then you can do the same thing. So let me just refresh myself for a second. Okay, so let's just call this triangle ABC. If you draw the median from the vertex to the midpoint, then that means D is the midpoint, and that means this has to equal this. Okay, so that's important. Now notice, every triangle is going to have 3 medians, and they're going to meet in the centroid. So let's do another set. So if I draw a median from A to the midpoint of BC, so let's say right about there is BC. So then to draw that, I'm going to connect it just like that. Okay, so now what I know is that this piece is going to equal this piece. So we'll pick another color, and let's figure out if that's about the midpoint there. And if we draw another median from the vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side, whoops, what happened there? Oh, let me go forward. Then I know that this is going to equal this. Okay, and this point right in the middle, so we'll get a different color. So let's make that, I don't know, blue. This point right here, that is the centroid. Okay, so you're connecting from the vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. Okay, the altitude is something different. So the altitude of a triangle is the perpendicular segment. So perpendicular segment from a vertex to the opposite side of the triangle. Okay, so that means this has to be perpendicular, and it's coming from the vertex to the opposite side. Okay, there are also 3 of those inside the triangle. So let's do another one. So if I take this, say there, and I'll say that's a right angle, and then I'm going to do the same thing here, and I'm going to tell you they're going to go through the same point. So that's a right angle. Okay, so then this point right here, which I'm going to make green, that is the orthocenter. So altitudes end up making these right angles on the sides of the triangle. They also come from the vertex. So the way these two are similar or related, they all come from the vertex. All 6 of these things come from the vertex. Okay, the medians go to a midpoint, and the altitudes form a right angle. Okay, so they do very different things once they leave the vertex, but they are all coming from the vertex. Okay, so that's the 2 key pieces of today's lesson. So then let's go to the next page of these notes. So we have a concurrency of the medians, and I've already talked about that, so let's go back. So this is the concurrency of the medians, and it's at a centroid. Okay, so that's our focus now. So there's other things that happen when you have these concurrencies. So it's concurrent right there, and that is called the centroid. Okay, so but there's another nice relationship. So look at what's happening. AP, okay, which is just from the vertex to the centroid, that is 2/3 of the length of the entire piece, AE. BP, again, it's from the vertex down to the centroid, that is going to be 2/3 of the entire length, BF. And lastly, CP, which is here, is 2/3 the length to 2D. The point of concurrency, as we said before, is the centroid. Okay, so I want you to write something else here. If AP is 2/3 AE, then let me change my color. We can say that PE is 1/3 AE. And if BP is 2/3 of BF, then PF equals 1/3 of BF. And if we know that CP is 2/3 of CD, then DP is 1/3 of DC. Okay, so I want you to add that line because that's going to really help us understand some of the problems. Okay, we're going to do 2 examples together. So let me go over to that next page. Okay, example 1. It says use the point of concurrency of the medians. Okay, that point is the centroid. It is right here where I'm putting the little red. That's your centroid. So in triangle RST, they want you to label this little dot that I just made, which is the point of concurrency, as Q. Okay, so they say if SQ, so SQ is 8, find QW and SW. So I know that SW is the entire length, right? So let me backtrack. Let me not do SW. Let's do SQ. SQ equals 2/3 of SW. Okay, so fill in what we know. We know 8. So 8 equals 2/3 of SW. How do you find SW? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both sides by 3/2, 3/2, and this times 3/2, right? These guys cancel, these cancel, that becomes a 1. 2 goes into 8 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12. So 12 equals SW. So SW is this entire length. So that entire length is 12. Whoops. 12. If that length is 12, isn't it true that QW has to be 4? Okay, so QW equals 4 and SW equals 12. Okay, look for a second how SQ and QW are related. So they're related 2 ways. If you add them together, you get SW. So that's one way. But if you take the bigger piece and divide it in half, you get the smaller piece. So the piece from the vertex to the centroid is bigger than the piece from the centroid to the opposite side. And it's bigger by half. So SQ is twice QW. And that's the relationship we're going to be exploring. And we're going to do it again in this extra practice here. So in this triangle, P is the point of concurrency of the medians. Okay, so that's the centroid right there at where I put the little green dot. And if they tell you that JP is 12, find PT and JT. So if I know that JP equals 12, and I know that JP is 2/3 of JT, plug in what you know. I know 12 equals 2/3 of JT. So therefore, I'm going to multiply both sides by 3/2. That gets rid of this one. Do the same thing over here, and I get 18 equals JT. So far I know that JT equals 18. What is PT? Well, 12 plus what gives you 18, and that answer is going to be 6. But didn't you know that already? Because what's the relationship? Let me just erase this T. What's the relationship between JP and PT? If JP is 12, I know that PT is half of that. So I knew it was 6. So I could have figured out that the whole piece was 18 just by adding 6 and 12. So I want you to do a little thinking about that. Because when I see you again, we're going to do some more problems related to this. Okay, so your assignment is to write these notes down and to also give a lot of thought to this so that we are ready to discuss it when you come back.